story is Esther goes to the king.
Haman had just been made the big boss of Susa by King Xerxes, and he thought he was very, very important. The king made an order that said everyone needed to bow down to Haman when they walked past, and everyone did. Well, everyone except Mordecai. Mordecai had been taken away from his own home in Jerusalem and brought to Susa many years ago. He had also adopted Queen Esther when she was a little girl after her mummy and daddy had died. Mordecai was an Israelite, and the people of Susa called the Israelites Jews. Both Mordecai and Queen Esther believed in and loved God, but the king didn't know that Queen Esther was a Jew. Well, Haman became very angry with Mordecai when he refused to bow down to him. He found out that Mordecai was a Jew. Haman wanted to punish Mordecai, but not just Mordecai. He wanted to punish all the Jews that lived in the land. Haman went to the king and told the king that there was a group of people who refused to obey the king's commands and that they should all be killed. Well, the king gave Haman his special king's ring and some money and said that Haman could do whatever he wanted. Well, Haman made a horrible law and sent it out to everyone in the land. He used the king's special ring to seal the law so that it couldn't be changed. The law said that all the Jews in the land were to be killed. All the men, all the women, all the children who were Jews were to be killed on a certain day. Well, Mordecai heard about the horrible law and was really, really upset. He tore his clothes. He rubbed ash all over them. And then he sat at the king's gate, crying and crying. Queen Esther's women servants heard about Mordecai, and they told her what he was doing. So Queen Esther sent a manservant to Mordecai to find out what was wrong. Mordecai told the manservant everything. He gave him a copy of the new law, and he told him to tell Queen Esther that she may have become queen just so that she could save her friends and families and all of the Jews, and to remember that she would also die along with all of the Jews. Queen Esther told Mordecai to tell all the Jews to stop eating and pray for 3 whole days, and she would do the same. At the end of the 3 days, she said she would go see the king. But there was a law that only people who the king had called could see him. And Queen Esther hadn't been called in 30 days. If someone dared to go to see the king when they hadn't been called, they would be killed. The only way that they wouldn't be killed would be if the king held out his special scepter. It was like a long golden stick, and if he held that out to the person, they wouldn't die. But Queen Esther decided to risk it anyway. She decided that she would go see the king, even if she was killed for trying. Queen Esther and all the Jews spent 3 days praying to God and they didn't eat anything. On day 4, Queen Esther dressed in her best clothes, and she went to see the king. The king saw her coming towards him. Would the king hold out his golden scepter? Queen Esther watched as she got closer to the king. And then the king held out his scepter towards her. Oh, today she wouldn't be killed. Queen Esther then invited the king and Haman to a very special tea with lots of yummy food. So the king and Haman went. And while they were there, the king asked Queen Esther what she wanted. But Queen Esther only said, "I'd like to invite you to come again tomorrow for another special tea with lots of yummy food." So the next day, the king and Haman went back to Queen Esther's, and they had another lovely big meal with her. And again, the king asked Queen Esther what she wanted. So Queen Esther asked the king if she would be allowed to live, as well as all of her family and her friends, if they could not be killed. She told the king that she was a Jew and that Haman was trying to kill her as well as all of the Jews in the land with his new horrible law. The king was furious with Haman, and he ordered that Haman be killed. Then the king gave Mordecai Haman's job, and Mordecai was the new big boss. Mordecai and Queen Esther worked together, and they wrote a new law that would protect all of the Jews in the land, and they were saved from being killed. What an amazing story! Do you think you could go 3 days without eating, or spend 3 days praying all day? Queen Esther did. Queen Esther also was very brave going to the king. Do you think Queen Esther was scared going to see the king when she knew she could be killed? Well, I think she would have been scared. But even though she was scared, she had prayed that God would be with her, and she trusted that God would continue to look after her. God is with us even when we're scared or frightened. He's always looking after us. So next time that you're scared or frightened, remember to say a prayer to God, and He will let you know that He loves you and that He's there with you, just like He was there with Queen Esther.